Hello, everyone. Matt Clark, research analyst for Money and Markets with your Money Markets Week Ahead. What to watch on Wall Street. Last week, pretty interesting week on Wall Street. The NASDAQ topped 13,000 for the first time in history. Stocks continue to rise. All that despite an increase in COVID-19 hospitalizations across the country and a riot in the nation's capital. Indexes generally moved higher over the course of the week and didn't really slow down a whole lot, at least leading in to Thursday. Here's some things investors should be watching on Wall Street this week. As it is early in the calendar year, there are actually no initial public offerings on the schedule for next week. Looking back at 2020, however, it was a very big year for IPOs, as special purpose acquisition companies, or SPACs, actually drew a lot of headlines. These are companies that basically go public and then raise capital, buy private companies, and then through reverse merger, take those private companies and make them public without going through the IPO process. According to Renaissance Capital, 2020 was the second largest year in terms of IPO proceeds in the last decade. There were more than $78 billion in IPO proceeds during 2020. Cloud firm Snowflake Incorporated trades on the NASDAQ, on New York Stock Exchange, rather, under the ticker SNOW, came to market with the largest software IPO with a valuation of $33.2 billion. Vacation rental online marketplace Airbnb Incorporated, traded on the NASDAQ under ABNB, launched its IPO like gangbusters, priced at $68 per share, which was well above the intended range, which was about half that almost, if not a little bit more. 2021, however, could be an even bigger year for IPOs. Here are some of the IPOs that I'm looking out for that you should keep an eye on for the new year. Coinbase, cryptocurrency exchange, plans to launch its IPO sometime in February. It could have an IPO valuation of more than $8 billion, with Bitcoin hitting all-time highs recently. I expect Coinbase to come in strong. It boasts more than 35 million investors around the world. The big question here is whether Coinbase is actually turning a profit. We won't know that until we see their S1 filings here soon. Roblox, this isn't really, this is a gaming company, but it's really not your ordinary online gaming company. It's not just a platform, but it's also a creation system. 1 in 4 of its users are actually under the age of 9, if you want to take that into consideration. It has more than 960,000 developers on the platform and more than 31 million daily active users. Its IPO is expected to launch sometime in the first quarter of 2021, and a potential IPO valuation target of around $8 billion. Instacart, now this is a company that's interesting. In 2020, in the coronavirus pandemic, created a big deal for this product delivery service. The company has agreements with more than 400 retailers with more than 30,000 stores, and that means it reaches 80% of households in the U.S., 70% of households in Canada. It recently raised $200 million in a funding round, which followed a $225 million funding round. The bottom line is that Instacart could wind up being one of the biggest IPOs in the first half of 2021. And Robinhood, here's another interesting story. The online brokerage app took off in 2020 with the resurgence of the stock market following the coronavirus crash. The platform has nearly 13 million users while providing zero commission trading via its mobile app. There's no firm date for the IPO, but I do expect it to come out sometime this year. Now, taking a deeper dive in terms of earnings, I want to look at one company in particular. It's going to be a fairly light week in terms of earnings up until Friday. That's when banks will start kicking off the Q4 earnings week from earnings season from 2020. One company rounding out Q3 earnings, however, is one that's driven a lot of headlines, especially around the implementation of 5G technology. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company Limited, that's a mouthful, trades on the New York Stock Exchange under the ticker TSM, has been at the center of the 5G rollout and will report its earnings for the previous quarter on Thursday. Now, what is TSM? It is a company that develops and sells integrated circuits and semiconductors. I know it's a very convoluted way. It basically makes microchips. These products are used in things like smartphones, tablets, computers, and they're an integral part of how those devices are going to adapt to 5G technology speed. Remember, 5G technology is going to take downloading a 2-hour movie from current times of registered in a matter of 10, 20, 30 minutes to 1 or 2 minutes. These products are used, of course, across all different types of technological platforms, like I said, smartphones, tablets, and computers. The big difference with TSM is it actually also serves as a foundry. And that means they actually manufacture semiconductors for other companies that, in turn, will sell them to big tech institutions. So not only do they make their own, they make semiconductors for other companies. Now, in their last quarterly report, TSM reported earnings per share of 92 cents on revenue of $12.4 billion. That beat Wall Street expectations on both counts. Analysts expected earnings of 84 cents per share on $11.8 billion in revenue. The company has beaten or met expectations for both earnings and revenue in 9 of the last 10 quarters. So it's had a really, really good run, even with the coronavirus crash. Now, what can we expect this time? Well, the rollout of 5G technology was slowed by the coronavirus pandemic. TSM really seemed to just kind of keep on trucking. While the company is a big player in 5G technology, what they've been able to rely on is the fact that they're creating semiconductors and chips for current technology like 4G and LTE. And that's likely what's really kept buoyed their numbers and kept them up as good as they have been. Now, expectations for the company are to report earnings of about 93 cents per share on $12.7 billion in quarterly revenue. I suspect those numbers are going to be pretty close to accurate. I could see another beat on both counts, but probably not to the degree of beat we saw in the last quarter, where they beat earnings by about $500 million. I don't think it's going to be quite that high. Now, in terms of our data dump for this week, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics will release its Consumer Price Index for the month of December on Wednesday. Those numbers will include month-over-month and year-over-year comparisons. The index measures the price of goods and services. It's a component to measuring trends in purchasing as well as inflation. In November, the index showed a 1.2% increase in the cost of goods and services, and that was no change from the month of October. Goods and services costs, however, has declined slightly from September and October. Also on Wednesday, the Federal Reserve Bank will release its Beige Book. This is a comprehensive report of the economic conditions in all 12 Federal Reserve districts across the country. It's released 8 times a year, and it's typically 2 weeks before the meeting of the Federal Open Market Committee, which is actually supposed to happen in about 2 weeks. In its last release, the book indicated modest or moderate expansion in economic activity across the country. More sales data is going to be released on Friday, when the U.S. Census Bureau will release its retail sales report for the month of December. If the reading is higher than expected, it's kind of a bullish signal for the dollar. It means things are very strong, while lower than expected reading is a bearish signal for the dollar. In November, the reading indicated a 4.1% change in retail prices, which was lower than the 5.5% expectation. In each of the last 5 quarters, retail sales have actually come in below expectations, suggesting a slowdown in the economic recovery from the coronavirus. Now, to finish off our week ahead, I want to take a look at some of the key earnings reports that are going to be due out this week. On Monday, we've got a couple. Cenex Corporation trades on the New York Stock Exchange under SNX, Vox International Corporation, and Cushco Holdings. If you listen to my marijuana market update, you'll know Cushco Holdings trades over the counter under KSHB. They will be reporting on Monday. On Tuesday, Organigram Holdings Incorporated and Expo Incorporated will be reporting earnings. Again, fairly slow start to the week here in terms of earnings. On Wednesday, picks up a little bit with Infosys Limited, IHS Markit, and Wipro Limited. All 3 of those companies will report on Wednesday. On Thursday, we've got Taiwan Semiconductors Manufacturing, BlackRock, and Platinum Group Metals. They will all be reporting on Thursday. And then Friday, we'll kick off the next round of quarterly earnings, where we'll have JP Morgan and Chase, we'll have Citigroup, Wells Fargo and Company, and PNC Financial Services Group. All those will kick off Q4 earnings on Friday. That's all we have for this week. I'd like to make sure to remind you to make sure you check out our Money and Markets website. We have safe and profitable investment information we provide each and every day. Sign up for our free daily e-letter. You can do that by going to moneymarkets.com, put in your email address, and you'll get a daily e-letter for free each and every day. Until next time, everyone, I'm Matt Clark, research analyst for Money and Markets, your host of the Bull and the Bear podcast, the week ahead, as well as the Marijuana Market Update. Wishing you all safe trading.